Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Stars sit out on Wednesday, but we still learned a lot about the Lakers. I'll tell you why next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always going to be free. It is never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out with 21,000 subscribers to the show, growing fast. Everyone getting excited about the regular season, which is coming quickly, Andy. It is coming quickly. This episode of Locked On Lakers, of course, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. I'm not a mathematician, but that sounds like a good deal to me. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Of course, the folks at FanDuel, Andy, probably bumping up the Lakers title odds after their 109-101 win. Preseason victory. They're now 2-1. When was the last time the Lakers won two preseason games in the same preseason?
I mean, I wasn't old enough to watch them in Minneapolis, but it feels about that long.
Am I wrong about this? Like, even when they're good, it feels like they never win preseason games. So this is fun.
No, it's not only is it fun just because it's fun when the Lakers win anything. It's been fun because this team has been really fun to watch. Like, not only do they offer a lot of signs that if they can stay healthy, they can be a very good team, they are going to be a really entertaining team. Just the entertainment value with this team, the fun value seems really high right now.
I mean, look, there were some raggedy portions, to say the least, of the first half. There's don't get me wrong here. And that was of this win with the Lakers. Lakers playing without LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Austin Reaves and Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish, if you're interested in that sort of thing. But this normally in a preseason game when that many players sit out,
I don't know if that shade towards Cam Reddish was necessary. Guy's just sitting around minding his own business, Brian.
Get it back on the floor, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. Heal that ankle. If you are, I'm not including him in the Lakers, what I'm about to say, which is the Lakers were missing four important players, including arguably their three best players.
Yes.
And so normally when that happens, you say to yourself, I'm not really interested in, it's hard to take lessons from this. I'm not really interested. It doesn't really matter what happens in this game, but I would argue that there is more reason to pay attention to a game like Wednesday for this group of Lakers, because when your frontline stars are Austin Reaves, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James, and then you're presumably arguably your third best player is Austin Reaves, two of those guys at least are going to be missing some time. You basically have to count on that and hope you're surprised in the other direction. So it actually does matter how competitive the Lakers can be in these games where either LeBron doesn't play or Anthony Davis doesn't play, or they'll probably be, you could probably, 10 games, I would think maybe this year. It's not unreasonable to think where both of them will not be playing. That's a lot of games to be completely not competitive if that's the case, but that is not what we saw on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's also significant too, before we even get into the particulars of who on the Lakers played really well. The Kings played their roster. Other than Keegan Murray, everybody who is projected to be in the rotation played tonight, and the Kings were the 3 seed last year, and they are a team that is looking to try to build on that surprise season last year. They are expected to be in the playoff mix. So this is a good team to be going up against, very shorthanded. And the Lakers controlled this game from start to finish. And they were clearly the better team on the floor, despite the fact that, again, Sacramento was playing basically their roster, and the Lakers was playing nothing close to that.
Right. And like if this was a regular season game, could it have looked different? Would it have looked different? Probably. But I think the moral of the story here isn't so much the score as it is like you look at this and you say, do the Lakers, particularly if you're talking about Anthony Davis and LeBron are out, but you have the rest of the supporting cast, insert Reaves into this lineup. And now you're talking about, D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reaves probably as your sort of your frontline scorers, supported by your on-court leader, supported by Rui Hachimura and Taurean Prince and Gabe Vincent. Christian Wood off the bench, 13 points, 4 rebounds for him, 5 of 7 shooting. So a much more efficient night for Wood than he's had in the preseason to this point. And so you start going down the league. It's a credible bunch of people that you could put out on the floor. Now, is that a 50-win team? No, but it's not a 10-win team either. It's not a 15-win team. So I've seen enough in this preseason to think that the Lakers will be competitive in these games where they're missing their stars. And when it comes down to seeding at the end of the year, that really could be an important thing.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about that I think we're seeing a lot of in this preseason, the depth of this team, it's not just depth in terms of you've got a lot of NBA guys. Like I know we've talked about before, the question of whether this team is deeper than that 2020 championship team, because, that was a really well-constructed, well-balanced roster that was really able to lean into the defensive identity that Frank Vogel wanted. But I think the real difference for this team this year, and this really matters when you take into account LeBron entering season 21, turning 39, and the concerns that you always have with Anthony Davis and his health, this team, if nothing else, is deeper with skill players than the 2020 championship team.
Absolutely.
Like 2020 had a great assembly of role players to have 2 stars and then a defense, like a really high-end defensive identity around LeBron and AD. But this team with D'Lo, Reaves, who didn't play tonight, but Austin Reaves obviously is in that mix, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, like going down, Christian Wood, just going down the line, there are a lot of guys who are capable of creating for themselves, creating for others. And that in particular is something that I think the Lakers have missed a lot during those stretches when they haven't had LeBron in the past or haven't had AD in the past, much less both of them.
Yeah, and looking, at what worked, and I'm looking less at schemes here, like what play. Again, with that stuff, particularly when you're missing a lot of people, can be a little raggedy. And look, there were some ugly moments in the first half in terms of artful basketball, but the Lakers got another phenomenal performance from D'Angelo Russell, 21 points, 2 of 5 from 3, 8 of 12 overall from the floor, playing with just tremendous confidence, 8 assists. And
some good defensive moments from D'Lo too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Gabe Vincent really had his, I think, first, really, nice, noticeably impactful game, going back to the starting lineup. He had 18 points, 7 of 12 from the floor, and hit 4 of 8 from 3. And obviously, we spent a lot of time talking about Vincent and his impact based in part on his ability to spread the floor. 4 of 8 is outstanding. He showed a little bit on both ends, but if he is able, especially to hit 3-pointers like that, very handy fellow to have around.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to talk more, or at least a little bit more, when we get back about D'Lo.
Sure, absolutely.
The way he's been playing this preseason, because he's been really strong over all 3 games, and like just thinking about some of the things that he said during media day, and like about the relationship between him and the organization, and the confidence that Darvin Ham has instilled in him. I think there's something to seemingly the way he's entered this season and the relationship with the team and the way he's playing right now. So I think it's worth talking about for a few minutes.
Let's do that. next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel, and you can enjoy this NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets off just, again, $5 guaranteed. And you can use those bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, futures, all sorts of fun options. And all customers who, again, just bet $5, you get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And this is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is really easy to use. You get all of those different options just right there at your fingertips. Really fun. Of course, there are NBA props you can bet on. Opening night, the Lakers are, as of this recording, 5.5-point dogs on the road against the Nuggets. Maybe that changes the way they're playing in this preseason. LeBron, 50-1 odds to win MVP. Anthony Davis, 30-1, no line yet so far on D'Angelo Russell. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Actually, also kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I tweeted out during the game at Cam Brothers, if the preseason means anything, in full disclosure, it often doesn't. But the way D'Angelo Russell's playing right now, we just heard from our friends at FanDuel, he could be a sneaky good bet for most improved player. Like, if this is the foundation for where things are moving forward, D'Angelo Russell, it's not just that he's playing well. He feels like a guy right now that is just completely in control of his craft and just feels incredibly confident out there. And he talked during media day about how much it meant for him that Darvin Ham declared him a starter a couple days before, training camp opened, and like that vote of confidence. And like, you were there. He seemed really sincere the way he was talking about that, like what it meant to him.
Yeah, that part I believed. I mean, the part where he was talking about, some of the other stuff with the summer and like the negotiations, all this, I kind of, I don't know totally how, but like the Darvin stuff, 100%, absolutely believed it.
Yeah, he seems right now like somebody who feels very comfortable with his place in the organization. I mean, D'Lo's been traded enough to know that, nothing lasts forever with any particular organization. That it often doesn't last 2 years. He would know. And he's only under contract right now with the Lakers for 2 years, potentially even one, depending on how he plays this year. He can opt out on his own. But just, you watch him right now, and, D'Lo has always been a starting caliber point guard, but on the lower end, I think, of what you would look for in a starting caliber point guard, which still makes you a good player.
For sure.
The way he's been playing in this preseason, he looks like he's about to jump up those ranks if he can maintain this to somebody you look at and go like, damn, it's a really good point guard. Like, that is a really good playmaker and scorer. Yeah.
I mean, I think, in terms of the MIP thing, I think he's just been around too long. I mean,
yeah,
people are, I get what you're getting at. But in like the most literal sense, I don't know if that would happen. And to me, I look at it this way. It's like, he has been devalued over the last few seasons because he has always been judged and evaluated really based on his contract.
Yeah.
And is this a max guy? He makes too much money. He was overpaid. He didn't really earn that deal, which is true. In a different market that didn't involve the Warriors, and the Kevin Durant stuff and all of that, he probably wouldn't have made that money.
There's no probably.
Right. When you bump his salary back down, now he has a chance almost to reestablish what his value is and look undervalued. If you look around the league at players who make 18, 20, 22, 25, whatever it is, at a time when salaries now have zoomed past where Russell was making that 31, where guys are in the 40, in 50. We have contract extensions where people are going to be making like 70. Like, it's an interesting moment for him to, even if he doesn't play that much differently, he set career highs in a bunch of different categories like last year, and which played very well and all that stuff. But the contextual place that he was in made it very difficult. Like he's so well established in this league. But if he could come back to the Lakers and play at he's not going to make the All-Star team, but play at a All-Star adjacent level where you look at it and say, if there were 2 All-Star teams, if there was a second team or a third team for the Western Conference All-Stars, he might be on it. And the Lakers go deep into the playoffs. Like the whole conversation around the guy changes.
Well, they go deep in the playoffs, and he doesn't have. I was going to say he doesn't have a disastrous, last series the Lakers played. But with that being said, though, I do think it's great to see him come out playing this well, given what the last vision of D'Angelo Russell with the Lakers was heading into this offseason.
Well, for me, especially because, and I'm sure I know you as well, because I have been, I think, extremely defensive about Russell and like the need to bring him back. When we were, responding to comments and getting the emails and all this stuff about how D'Lo has to go and you got to get rid of him and figure it out. It's like, no, like you're
better off not bringing him back. No, you're not.
No, you're not. No. Not only are you not bringing that, that's not even close. It's not even a moderate consideration that the Lakers would have been better off. If somebody wanted to give him, $30 million, okay, maybe you have a conversation then at that point, but that wasn't a thing. It wasn't going to happen. And for the money that it would cost to bring him back, they would have been insane not to do it. Not just because of like, can you find somebody better and all this? Because he played well last year. He had a terrible finish to the season. The Nuggets series was a disaster. It was awful. He was terrible. And but you know what? That happens to good players. It happens to great players across different sports. Peyton Manning sucked in the playoffs until he didn't anymore. We just watched Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts go 1 for 6,000 against the Diamondbacks. Yeah. You can tell me that those guys aren't good players. It's like it happens to everyone.
I'm sure LeBron still can't exactly tell you what happened in that 2011 finals against Dallas.
Nope.
But I can tell you he was terrible.
He wasn't good.
He was really bad.
And so it's like, Russell played really well for the Lakers, and it's 3 preseason games, and sure. So he needs to do this in the regular season but it's a reminder the guy is a good player. He's not going to shoot 72% or whatever he's shooting right now from 3-point range in the regular season. He's a really good player, and if he is your on any given night 3rd to 5th best player.
Your team's
which is what he
good.
is on the Lakers.
Your team pretty damn
really good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I understand. I am not it's a journalism and blah. We've just been doing this for so long. I am not as emotional as a lot of fans are, which is, I think, beneficial for the show and probably good for the people. But I don't begrudge people care deeply about this team, and we care, right? I mean,
I care deeply about this team, like a fan. I do,
but it's like, folks, I understand he was terrible against the Nuggets. He's a really good player, and I actually like him as well. And I kind of felt like he was given a bit of a raw deal early in his Lakers career.
He's an interesting guy. Yes. He's a really smart, I think, thoughtful, sometimes, too smart for his own good, which is part of what makes him interesting. In all honesty, from the perspective of guys like us who cover players, D'Lo we used to talk about all the time, Julius Randle and Brandon Ingram were very old for their age when they were part of the kids. D'Angelo Russell was very young for his age. D'Lo was,
and he will tell you that.
Yeah.
He was not ready for it. He was not ready for what it was to be the number 2 pick or
Yes.
whatever, or number 2
He was
pick,
2.
right?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't emotionally ready. Like he was not a guy who showed up at Ohio State where everybody was like, we got 30 games with this guy because he's on his way to the pros. He was not expected to be a one and done. He was not expected to be the number 2 pick in the draft the year, after 1 year of college. He was not ready for it. His actual play on the floor was fine. That wasn't the issue. Emotionally and professionally, he wasn't ready for it. And it showed. And it also didn't help. The Lakers didn't exactly have phenomenal leadership around him.
No, not so much. No.
I still blame Nick Young for that whole problem. It was not D'Angelo's fault. It was Nick.
Love
Young's.
Nick when we covered him. He's not the ideal mentor.
No.
Nor for that matter is Lou Williams. Another guy liked him when we covered him.
But... it depends on what you're trying to be mentored about. I mean, for certain things, Lou Williams actually would be a very, very good mentor.
That is true. He could be a very good lifestyle mentor.
That's right. It just depends on what you're looking for.
He's a Riz God mentor.
Let's talk about a few more things about this GM survey that we didn't get to for yesterday's show, today's show. I don't even remember. It doesn't matter. We'll do all that next. One of the things that stuck out to me, Andy, about the GM survey is where the Lakers finished in 2 different parts. There was the best off-season in the West, and they were 3rd in the NBA. I'm sorry, 4th actually, because behind Milwaukee, Portland, and Boston. And if you'll notice, Andy, all of those teams were teams that were involved in one way, shape, or form in the dissolution of the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
For teams that weren't involved in blockbuster deals, the Lakers' highest rating there. They were also picked to finish 3rd in the conference. Overall, I thought both of those things were very encouraging and pretty fair when you look at kind of what I think the Lakers, or where I would predict the Lakers to be.
It reflects how you and I both thought that Rob Pelinka did a fantastic job this offseason, both in terms of the guys that he retained, Rui, D'Lo, Reaves, but also the free agents that they brought in, just this roster that he constructed, but also the idea that there was only so much better they could get this offseason. Because if you were looking for a type of big swing move that Milwaukee made or that Boston made, that didn't exist for the Lakers. Like the options weren't really there, but we both thought incrementally better, which was realistically as good as I think they could do this offseason. Frankly, it would have been easier for them to get worse than to get considerably better. I am a bit surprised that nobody predicted them to even get to the finals. Like I was a little bit surprised by that. Like, the Clippers getting more love to get into the NBA finals. I'm not saying this is like, oh, they hate the Clippers or whatever. I'm just saying they're never healthy, like ever. At this point, like, don't we need to just see them in the finals?
Well, like, do you know what they are? Like, when they're all healthy, like, do we really know how good they are or how good they can be at this point?
Actually, I should rephrase. I don't know if nobody predicted the Lakers to get to the finals. Nobody predicted them to win it. The Clippers got 3% to win it.
Right, with 3%, which is one GM.
Sure, but one GM that didn't pick the Lakers. I mean, and I'm not trying to be homerish about this or whatever. And, these are just preseason predictions. And again, as you said, there is confidence about the Lakers that feels appropriate. I'm a little bit surprised that nobody predicted them to win the finals, but, it doesn't matter that much.
No. And the teams in front of the Lakers in the GM survey, Denver, the consensus pick to win the conference again. I think that is fair. And then Phoenix. And look, I think there's a lot of ways that what they're doing with the Suns could go wrong. And I need to see it before I will say, for sure, like this is the direct, they're a juggernaut and so on and so on and so on. That said, they did considerably better this offseason than I thought they were going to be able to in terms of putting a team around the super team. And if it does work, if they stay moderately healthy, the frontline talent on that roster is so good that they should be okay. I mean, I did they get better with the Ayton for Nurkic swap and adding a little bit of depth? I think from a culture standpoint, I think it's just something that needed to happen. I didn't see that improving, but it's not unreasonable to pick the Suns to finish ahead of the Lakers.
No, it's not.
That's not crazy.
Like I said, I am a little bit surprised. I'm not outraged that nobody predicted them to win at all.
The AD stuff that we talked about previously, that was more outrageous to me. It's like clearly none of these GMs watch the playoffs.
No, that is a legitimate lack of acknowledgement for what he is as a defensive force.
Yes.
Like it's kind of like that he would not get a single vote for most versatile defensive player in the league is honestly astonishing to me. Like, you could argue that he is the most versatile defensive player in the league. And if you want to say somebody else is more than him, fine. He is versatile enough that somebody should have picked up on it.
Put him on the list somewhere.
Yeah.
This stuck out to me. They had and I actually think this is a relevant thing when you, again, so narrow there's so many good teams in the Western Conference. A team like Utah, which has got a lot of pretty good players on it, is probably, I think, a consensus to not make the play-in. Oklahoma City, like, who knows where they could finish. Dallas has Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving and may not make the playoffs this year, and all that. So you look at the West and it's brutal. They have a category for the best home court advantage, and the Lakers predictably do not appear on that. I think that is a little unfair to Lakers fans. And the atmosphere when the Lakers are good inside the crypt is very underrated. That said, that is a very difficult building to kind of get loud and keep loud and say it's not a great building for that. It's not a Lakers fan issue. It's more the building. And when stuff matters, that is a really tough place to play. Yeah. So everybody can kiss it if you're going to rip on Lakers fans that way. What they don't have is a category for the best road floor advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did, the Lakers would annihilate the field. And this is one of those little deals that I think is kind of an underrated advantage the Lakers have, is that road games for them are often quasi home games. And again, when 2 or 3 victories over the course of the season could be the difference between a 4 seed and a 7 seed, that kind of thing matters. And the first reaction I had when I saw that category was, yeah, but their road court advantage is stellar.
We've said this before. If somehow the finals ends up Lakers versus Hawks, like, those Hawks players are going to be really disillusioned by what they hear from that crowd.
It's 7 home games for the Lakers.
I mean, you're gonna hear like, "Let's go Lakers," or like defense when the Lakers are on defense. Like, it's going to be loud as hell for the purple and gold.
Yeah. Any other last things from you about it? I mean, the GM survey is always fun.
Okay,
to go through.
Here's my last thing that I would say. They did this. I guess this is the 20th anniversary of this GM survey, and up on NBA.com they put a link to like the past 20 years of GM surveys. Go back through them. Like, if you're somebody who's been following the Lakers, following the NBA for like 20 or 30 years, it is fascinating to go through all these and to see like how certain teams that were predicted to, finish high, where, the love that they got heading into the season, how things turned out, or vice versa. You really get an indication of just how much respect Kobe got for about 15 years. Like, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it is, and it's a fun little time capsule. to play around with. So Lakers 2-1. They play Friday somewhere.
The Crypt.
Oh, that's at the Crypt
Friday
against
and
Warriors.
Sunday
That's the Friday against the Warriors.
Friday and Sunday's games are both against. They're both in the Crypt,
right? And Sunday is against the Milwaukee Bucks, and so hopefully players play in that one because it'd be kind of fun to see what that looks like, even for a few minutes going into the season. And then they got one more. I think they're off for a couple days. Play one more game after that, and then it's time for real consequential basketball where they will write down the final score and put it in the standings, and we get to get going here. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, hang out with 21,000 subscribers to the channel. Leave us questions, leave us comments, talk to each other, because that's what you guys have been doing. Some great exchanges that have been going on the channel. We encourage everybody to do it. It's a very high basketball IQ place with civilized people who are not bleep holes to each other. So please keep it that way. We really appreciate it. And we will see everybody on Friday.